Order. At this time, you can please stand and remove your hats for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, this is the regular scheduled board meeting for Tuesday, May 16, 2017. Would you please call the roll?
Trustee Yonker.
Here.
Trustee Panito.
Here.
Trustee Berg. Here. Trustee Brady.
Present.
Trustee Glotz.
Present.
Trustee Mangan.
Here.
Very good. Item number 1, we have a motion to consider approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Properly moved by Trustee Yonker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded by Cindy Berg. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item number 2, this would be, do I have a motion to consider approval of the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Yonker.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Glass. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, consider approval of the following consent agenda items. Madam Clerk.
Item A, consider the appointment of Trustee Brian H. Yonker to serve as Mayor Pro Tem for the 2017-2018 fiscal year. B, consider the appointment of Patrick Carr as Interim Assistant Village Manager. C, consider the appointment of Montana Welch as Village Hearing Officer at an hourly rate of $200 per hour. D, consider the appointment of Terry Lusby as Facilities and Fleet Superintendent. Item E, consider proclaiming May 21st through May 27th, 2017 as Public Works Week in the Village of Tinley Park. F, consider request from the American Legion Auxiliary Unit 615 to proclaim May 19th through May 21st, 2017 Poppy Days in the Village of Tinley Park. G, consider request for a block party permit on Saturday, September 16th, 2017 on Ravinia Drive between 6501 Ravinia Drive and 17001 Elm Lane Drive from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. H, consider request for a block party permit on Saturday, August 12th, 2017 on 65th Avenue between Vogt Street and 174th Street from 10:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. Item I, consider request for a block party permit on Saturday, August 26th, 2017 on 163rd Place between 76th Avenue and Olcott Avenue from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. J, consider request for a block party permit on Saturday, July 22nd, 2017 on Arlington Street between Princeton Avenue and Everton Drive from 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. K, consider request from the Tinley Park Police Department to conduct a tag day for the Special Olympics on Friday, May 19th, 2017 at certain intersections in the Village of Tinley Park. And lastly, item L, payment of outstanding bills in the amount of $2,493,488.67 as listed on the vendor board approval reports dated May 5th and May 12th, 2017.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, anybody from the board asked to remove anything from the consent agenda? Seeing how there is none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Properly moved by Mr. Yonker. So I have a second?
Second.
Pardon me?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Mangan. Roll call, Madam Clerk, please.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glotz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving along to item 4. At this time, I have the honor to consider a proclamation for recognizing Jason House on achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Pardon me. Do we have
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you. Procedures. This proclamation recognizes the achievements of Jason House, who received the highest award the National Council of Boy Scouts of America can bestow upon a scout, that of Eagle Scout. Jason's Eagle Project was a landscape beautification project for St. Stephen's Deacon and Martyr Catholic Church. He planted many perennials, built and installed a bench seat, and arranged for a boulder to be inscribed with a quote from Pope Francis, quote, "Let us care for our common home," end quote, in the St. Francis Grotto area on church grounds. There is a formal proclamation. At this time, I'd ask that Trustee Bill Brady and troop leader for Jason to read the proclamation into the record, please.
Whereas the highest award the National Council of Boy Scouts of America can bestow upon a scout
is that of Eagle Scout. Whereas Jason House has attained the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest rank in scouting, and whereas in order to qualify as an Eagle Scout, a young man must demonstrate outstanding qualities of leadership, willingness to be a help to others, and superior skills in camping, life-saving, and first aid. Whereas in earning the highest rank of Boy Scout, Jason House joins an elite and honorable fraternity of achievers that counts as a small percentage of the total population of the United States. But an extraordinary number of Eagle Scouts are among our nation's greatest leaders in business, government, education, and other sectors in our society. Whereas the achievement of rank of Eagle Scout reflects favorably upon Jason House, his proud family, his Scoutmaster, and fellow Scouts. Now, therefore, it is proclaimed on behalf of the 57,500 citizens of Tinley Park that the President and Village Board of the Tinley Park join his family and friends in congratulating Jason House upon attaining the coveted rank of Eagle Scout and commend him upon answering dedication to excellence that is the hallmark of an Eagle Scout. Approved this day, 16th day of May 2017, signed by our village president, Jacob Vandenberg, and our village clerk, Kristen Theron. Nice round of applause for them.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to add that this is a small amount of youth that make it. Out of all of the Scouts in the 110 years that Scouting has been around, only 5% make Eagle. So he is certainly in an exclusive class.
Very good.
Congratulations.
Again. Thank you. At this time, before we go further, I'd like the board to consider moving item 6 to item 5. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Yonker and seconded by Ms. Brady, or pardon me, Ms. Berg. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So item 6, Madam Clerk.
At this time, I would like to swear in officers Kelly Sweeney and William Gambaro. Could I have Officer Gambaro first, please?
This guy's a little too serious.
Really?
Exactly.
It's fine. Stay right in the middle. There you go.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, William Gimbar,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Tinley Park,
the ordinances of the Village of Tinley Park,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God. And I'd also like to do the law enforcement oath of honor, William. So you just repeat after me. On my honor, I will never betray my badge.
On my honor, I will never betray my badge.
My integrity, my character, or the public trust.
My integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable.
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve.
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Kelly Sweeney,
Do do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the ordinances of the Village of Tinley Park,
the ordinances of the Village of Tinley Park,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police officer
the duties of police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Okay, Kelly, please repeat after me. On my honor, I will never betray my badge,
On my honor, I will never betray my badge,
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable.
I will always have the courage to hold myself and others accountable.
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve.
I will always uphold the Constitution, my community, and the agency I serve.
Congratulations.
Very good. Well, welcome. We welcome you to Tinley Park. Appreciate you joining the force. I know we got a lot of family and friends here. Just like to thank you all very much for coming out and supporting these two and supporting our cause here in Tinley Park. We look forward to all their accomplishments that they bring to us. So thank you very much for getting them to us. All right, moving right along.
Goes half the house.
Some more pomp and circumstance. Item number 5, again, back on our agenda. This would be to receive presentation of the Community Service Youth Scholarship. Trustee Yonker?
At this time, I'd like to call up Rita Brudd to announce the scholarship winners.
Good evening. There were 32 applications for the 8 scholarships this year. And as usual, it was an outstanding crop of students. It's hard to pick them. I don't pick them. My commission doesn't. We have 5 education professionals who are retired, have no students anywhere connected in any of the schools, and are residents of Tinley that volunteer their time to read through them all, rank them all, and pick the winners. So at this point, I would like to ask, I'm going to read a little bit about the first 4, then Don's going to tell you about the last 4. Once we give you a little synopsis of each of them, we're going to have them stand over there when they're done, and then we'll do some pictures with Trustee Yonker and Mayor Vandenberg. Jessica Ford.
He's a man without a chair.
Jessica is a graduating senior from Tinley Park High School and is planning on attending North Central College in Naperville, Illinois. In the fall, where she'll major in athletic training. Jessica is involved in many extracurricular activities at school, such as Key Club, Athletic Training Aid, Speech Club, Drama Group, and 4 years in the Color Guard, finishing as co-captain. Jessica attained National Honor Society and Spanish Honor Society in her junior year. Outside of school, Jessica is active in the American Diabetes Association as a camp counselor for the last 7 years. At the University of Chicago as a medical volunteer, in her church as a religious education teacher, and lector. Jessica has type 1 diabetes, has learned to properly control it, and have her success in school and community. Working at camp has pushed her to do things out of her comfort zone, encouraging other campers with the same disease to step forward also. Congratulations, Jessica. Marina Ibrahim? Did I say it right? Okay. Maria is graduating senior from Tinley Park High School and is planning on attending Governor State University in University Park, Illinois, in the fall, where she'll major in biology and pre-physical therapy. Marina is involved in many extracurricular activities at school, such as Interact Club as a Titan tutor, class leadership events, the Art Club, and state qualified in the Business Professionals of America. Marina qualified for National Honor Society in her junior year and Spanish Honor Society in her senior year. Outside of school, Marina is active as a volunteer for Halloween Safe House, the Bridge Teen Center Thrift Store, helping out at St. George annual festivals, Special Olympics programs, and homeless sandwich runs. Marina states that the most rewarding community service activity she has participated in is the sandwich runs for the homeless. This service allows her to feel truly blessed and be humble and think more of others. Marina states, in a society that promotes pride, it is my responsibility to alter that notion and use my skills to help my community and my hometown. Congratulations, Marina. Grace is a graduating senior from Lincoln Way East High School and is planning on attending Iowa State University in Ames, Iowa in the fall, where she'll major in mechanical engineering. Grace is involved in many extracurricular activities at school, such as the soccer team and cross-country team for 3 years, student council, academic tutor, Key Club, and intramural Olympics. Grace attained National Honor Society, Science Honor Society, AP Scholar, and Illinois State Scholar. Outside of school, Grace is active in the Gaelic Park Charities as a Taekwondo instructor. Incidentally, she's third-degree black belt. Feed My Starving Children program and the Blackfeet Volunteer Medical Corps, and as a women's self-defense instructor. Grace explains that being involved with the Blackfeet tribe, she's learned to respect their values and traditions. And while gratitude is not overt, she has learned that by coming back each year, her work is having an impact on the entire community. Congratulations, Grace. Christian J. Hecht. Chris is on crutches because he has something called Perthes disease, which is degenerative bone disease, and just had a hip reconstruction. So when we complain about our aches and pains, well, okay. He changed schools on me, so I have to do a little. Christian J. Hecht is a graduating senior from Providence Catholic High School and is planning on attending Loyola University in Chicago, Illinois in the fall, where he'll major in biology and pre-medicine. Christian is involved in many extracurricular activities at school, such as captain of the Scholastic Bowl team, Augustinian Youth Ministry, Science Club, Book Club, Celtic Nation Fan Club. Christian attended National Honor Society and attained National Honor Society and Spanish Honor Society. He's been awarded Student of the Month 3 times. Outside of school, Christian is active organizing toy and book drives for the Toy Box Connection, children's charity, serving as an assistant coach for St. Michael's Scholastic Bowl, Vacation Bible School leader, and raising funds for pediatric brain tumor patients. Christian's favorite charity is the Toy Box Connection, which serves children in hospice, orphanages, homeless shelters, as well as disabled children. He realizes what simple gestures can do for a child. Christian states, volunteering and civil engagement connect me to others, bring me fulfillment, and give to those in need, and creates a loving atmosphere in the community. Congratulations. As you can see, none of these kids are loafers.
Our next recipient is Ryan Murphy. Ryan Murphy is a graduating senior from Lincoln Way East High School and is planning on attending the University of Purdue in West Lafayette, Indiana in the fall, majoring in aerospace engineering. Ryan is involved in many extracurricular activities at school, such as swimming, which was a 2-time all-conference standout, water polo, which he is the captain, cross country, Mathletes Key Club, which is most commonly called a community service club, and a peer mediator. Outside of school, Ryan was active in Smith Crossing Senior Home, for which he was recognized by the Daily Southdown for his exemplary record. The Tinley Park Youth and Government Program, for which he was Director of Economic Development in 2015, and the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership Program, for which he received the Bronze Presidential Volunteer Service Award, the Kiwanis Fall Festival, and many other programs that are just too numerous to mention. Ryan states in his essay, at the time he spent at Smith Crossing Senior Home, which was over 200 hours, he had learned the meaning of what it is to give back to the community, and by doing so, it not only increased his maturity level, but enabled him to communicate with adults on a much higher level, which in turn made him more of an adult to handle responsibility. Congratulations, Ryan. Leah Schisler. Leah is a graduating senior from Victor J. Andrew High School and is planning on attending Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana in the fall, majoring in elementary education. In school, Leah is involved in many activities such as volleyball, student council, art club, Mathletes, variety show, senior class council, and was inducted into the National Honor Society and the Spanish Honor Society in her junior year. In her after-school hours, Leah was involved in St. Julie Religious Education Program as an aide and contributed many hours to the Daybreak Shelter. She was also involved in the Bannis Elementary School, where she was teaching kindergarten as an aide. That involved creating lesson plans, reading to students, classroom discipline, and individually assisting students. Her teaching also involved working closely with the staff and teachers. Use the words was a phrase that Leah had repeatedly, endlessly for 4 weeks while working with a small class of students aged 3 to 5 years old who had varying speech and behavioral problems, especially since the majority of the children had difficulty speaking. She was very nervous at her first because she never dealt with children with learning disabilities, but afterwards felt lucky that she had a chance to have met these children and worked with them. Although some days were harder than others, this experience has greatly influenced her now to accept any challenge that may come her way and to overcome those challenges to meet her goal. Congratulations. Theodore Trost. Theodore Trost is a graduating senior from Lincoln Way East High School and is planning on attending the University of St. Francis in Joliet, Illinois, and is majoring in radiation therapy. In school, you will find him involved in many activities such as student council for the past 4 years, as well as running track and cross country. He also participates in the Intramural Olympics and the Latin Junior League all year. Outside of school, you will find that he's been volunteering at the Paws Animal Shelter for the past 4 years as a trainer, to which there are many responsibilities, and there is a diabetes camp 1 week each summer, to which he is a teacher. In his essay, he has been volunteering at the diabetes camp for the past 5 years, to which he is currently teaching kids 4 to 9 years old how to test their blood sugar, give shots, and count carbs, and work on their insulin pumps. He had taught them at their age that they are not alone in this world, and that there are many are like him, and they will be okay when they grow up. Being newly diagnosed is hard. If he states, a complete life changer. Not all families can absorb the necessary costs, grasp the understanding of the disease, or have time to focus 100% of their attention on their child. This experience has woke him up to see just how much that parents have sacrificed for their children. Congratulations, Theodore. Haley Radakowitz, or Radakovitz, I should say. Haley is a graduating senior from Providence Catholic High School and will be attending Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana in the fall, majoring in communications. In school, Haley is very active in varsity cheerleading, for which she was the captain in her senior year, and was also involved in tumbling for the past 4 years. Her other activities include the Respect for Life Club, International Club, and Habitat for Humanity. She was inducted into the National Honor Society in her junior year and is recognized as an Illinois State Scholar. Outside of school, Haley has been very active volunteering her time at the Ronald McDonald House and helping out at various soup kitchens, as well as Feed My Children volunteer and helping out at the women's shelter and babysitting at Save Stevens, and most recently at Palos Community Hospital, which I wonder where she has time for all this. In her essay, she states, the 16 weeks she volunteered as an aide at Palos Community Hospital gave her a new look on life. Her preconceived notion that the hospital was a gray, hollow hallways and pale, sickly faces, but soon realizes that this was not true. She witnessed how the staff worked tirelessly to make both patients and their families smile and laugh as often as possible. She realized that it is perfectly okay to open up and be open to help others when I am weak. It is natural and normal to have difficult obstacles to overcome in life, but the walls that we surround ourselves with become easier to climb when we have someone to motivate us along the way. Congratulations, Haley.
And believe me, we did not put everything that was on the applications on these write-ups, so you'd be here for an hour. At this point, we'd like to invite Mayor Vandenberg and Trustee Yunker to come down and present some plaques. Christian, I'm going to get you off those crutches. Grace Cook. Oh, sorry. Why am I looking that way? Okay, Jessica Ford. Marina Abraham. Get it right here. Haley Radakovich.
Pritzker's got that around.
Brian Murphy. Thank you. Theodore Trust. We thank you for supporting this program and continuing it. This is the 19th year.
Thanks, Rita, and thanks to all your fellow commissioners on the Community Resource Commission for going through all the applications in the process. Thank you.
Any of the students, you're welcome to be dismissed. We do have a lot of village business. I'm not sure that it'll pique your interest, but a lot of interesting credentials out there, so keep up the good work. We're very proud of you. Thank you.
16 to 4. Come back in a couple years. We're going to need some.
Yep, thank you.
All right, item number 7, Mr. Glotz.
Some great people there.
I would like a motion to consider ordinance number 2017-0-036, granting variation from the village sign code to allow for increases in the maximum allowable number, height, and total square footage for wall sign in the B3 zoning district.
Are you making the motion, or are you asking for a motion on the table?
Asking.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Berg, seconded by Mr. Mangan. Motion carries. Go ahead with your discussion.
McDonald's, located at 17171 Harlem Avenue, is asking for 3 variations to allow 2 additional wall signs, an increase in the height of the letters from 30 inches to 42, and an additional 2.83 square footage of sign face area. The new signage is actually a reduction in sign face area from what currently exists and is less than what they are entitled to in the total area for all 3 sides of the building. The Plan Commission held a public hearing on May 4th, 2017, and voted unanimously 7-0 to recommend the requested variation. The plan looks like they did a nice job with the landscaping. This constitutes a first reading. Paul, do you have anything you want to add to that, or? Okay.
Very good. Thanks, Mike. This is for first reading, so at this time, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 8, Mike.
I'd like to make a motion to consider ordinance number 2017-0-037, rezoning a parcel of property commonly located at 17800 Highland Avenue from R1 Single Family Residential to R2 Single Family Residential.
Thank you. This has been moved properly by Mr. Glatz. We have a second. Seconded by Mr. Mangan. All in favor? Pardon me. Up for discussion. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
It's okay.
Still learning procedure.
That's okay. The petitioner, Nicholas Tuleja, is seeking a map amendment rezoning for his property to rezone from R1 to R2, single-family residential. The petitioner wishes to construct a single-family home consistent with the R2 minimum requirements of 2,800 square feet instead of the minimum requirement in the R1 district of 3,500 square feet. Of the 144 homes that were surveyed in the immediate area, only 4 meet the R1 minimum requirements and only 21 meet the R2 requirements. The Plan Commission held a public hearing on May 4th and again unanimously voted 7-0 to recommend the requested rezoning. Just want to say it's great to see someone wanting to make an investment in our community. The R1 zoning was preventing this by requiring too large of a home at 3,500 square feet. I think the R2 zoning is more appropriate zoning for that location. This also constitutes a first reading. Again, Paula, do you want to add anything?
No, did a great job.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Again, this is for first reading. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number 8, Mr. Glatz.
Item number 9.
Pardon me, item number 9. Check my notes.
It's okay. I would like to make a motion awarding a contract to KLF Enterprises for demolition of a structure at 17226 Oak Park Avenue.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Pinito. Go ahead.
The village received 5 bids for this demolition. The low bidder was KLF Enterprises. Funds are included in the current fiscal year for this project. The item was discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting on May 9th, 2017, and recommended for approval.
Thank you, Mike. This is to consider a contract, so this expenditure of funds, so this will be a roll call. Madam Clerk, if you could please make sure that you have into the record all the proper bids. Any comments from the board at all?
Yes, I would like to add, the building does need to come down, but I would just like to make sure that the prevailing wage ordinance of this village is followed. Can we make sure, Dave, that all the payroll paperwork checks are submitted before final payment is issued on this?
Certainly. Mr. Niemeyer? Anybody else have any comments? Any comments from the public?
Yeah.
Mr. Zollner?
Yeah, this building, I think they were low bid, KLF. I believe they came in about $12,000 under the next bid.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if the board would consider, possibly consider having a little bit of a landscaping, a little bit of enhanced landscaping on this lot. See, we know that they come in, they tear down the building, they put some seeds down, and then we end up with just a lot sitting there for years. I'm hoping that we can possibly take the $12,000 and possibly put a gazebo on there, some benches, anything that would enhance the landscaping a little bit. Is it possible or legal?
Yeah, it's a great thought. The problem is, once the structure is demolished, we don't automatically own the land.
No, I know that.
So we don't have the right to go on there and put a gazebo. The original owner, who's been...
What would it take to do a little bit of better landscaping? We have them all up and down Oak Park Avenue, bunch of empty lots. We have no course to take about cleaning them up.
We don't
a
own the
little bit
property. I mean, there is a way, one of the things when you take these buildings down, the next step is we will file a lien. So
Right.
that will be for all the legal fees, all the demo fees, we get a lien. We can look into possibly foreclosing on that lien.
Okay.
That's one way we can take the property, but, the demo itself doesn't give us
you
the
the
property.
right
So it's just like, we can't go onto people's property and build things. So the same theory kind of applies.
Okay, so I understand that. I'm just saying, what's the mayor thinking about doing with all these empty properties we have now? Are we just going to leave these properties empty to sit there for how long?
I
Just until
certainly wouldn't
somebody
want to
builds.
see any empty
'Cause
properties, Mr.
we're going
Zollner.
on 10, 20 years on some of these properties on Oak Park Avenue.
Certainly. And I think most can agree that a vacant lot seeded with grass would look better than what's currently there. And that would probably encourage development. A developer might be able to come in and look at an empty lot and be able to vision a better product than what's currently there.
Okay.
And then what the counselor didn't state, that I would have to go back and look at the bid specs, but I believe that we firmed up a little bit on how after the demolition, how they would seed it and the timing that we look to see that turnaround. I know in past, we had an issue with one property. It was a long turnaround, so we made sure that we made that part of our spec, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure we talked about that. But, so to your point, I think we're not going to see a mud pit there. We're expecting to see a nice grass lot as
Okay,
well.
now if these properties have been sitting there, there's no easy way for us to take them over. We'd have to go through the courts. How long does that take?
To take them over?
Yeah. For the village.
The village has a couple options, each
Have we
year
ever
there's-
done that?
We have, yeah. I don't
don't
think
know.
we've done it on any, but there's some. There's a delinquent tax procedure with Cook County that we can look at, or foreclose on these demo liens, but we have not taken that action yet, no.
Okay. Is that something the mayor might look into?
Really wouldn't be in my interest to take somebody's ownership of property, Mr.
It
Zollner.
might be if we have to live another 20, 30 years with these vacant properties. I'm talking about enhanced landscaping, benches and, just clean it up. I mean, a little bit more than just grass seed.
Sure.
Okay, because grass seed it is what it is. I mean, it's not getting any better through the years.
I agree.
Okay, so I'll come back next year and ask again.
Hopefully we won't have that problem, Mr. Zollner. Thank you for your comment. Any other questions from the public? Seeing there are none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg. Yes. Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 10, Mr. Glatz.
I would like to make a motion adopting ordinance number 2017-0-034, granting a special use to allow for a brewery, including sales and tasting at 6811 Hickory in the downtown core zoning district, Banging Gavel Properties.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Mangan. Thank you. Go ahead, Mike.
James Rickard of Banging Gavel Properties is requesting a special use for a brewery at 6811 Hickory Street, the historic Carl Volk building within the downtown core zoning district. The proposed brewery will be located in the basement of the Carl Volk building. The petitioner also has plans to include a tap room, a restaurant, space for private events, and an outdoor patio. The upper floor will continue to have a residential unit as well. Plan Commission held a public hearing on April 20th, 2017, and again voted unanimously, 7 ayes, 2 absents in favor of the requested special use, with conditions related to delivery hours, waste disposal, odors, and sanitation of the equipment. This is ready for adoption. Again, Paul, I don't know if you want to add to it, or, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Glotz, and all those conditions will be entered into the record as well. Are there any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Seeing how there is none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glotz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 11. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like the board to consider waiving first reading and adoption resolution number 2017-R-022 approving a local agency agreement for federal participation with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the 191st Street extension from Harlem Avenue to Oak Park Avenue.
Thank you. To waive first reading, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded
Thank you.
by Mr. Brady.
The village has been granted 80% funding from the South Suburban Mayors and Managers Association for the 191st Street extension from Harlem Avenue to Oak Park Avenue. This project will consist of the intersection improvement with upgrade signal and added turn lanes at the intersection of 191st and Harlem Avenue, as well as the widening and extension of 191st Street all the way to Oak Park Avenue. There will be a signalized intersection at 191st and Oak Park Avenue. This project was bid by the Illinois Department of Transportation April 28, 2017. Deconstruction was the apparent low bidder. That was read as a bid result of $3,298,364.11. The construction engineering agreement between the Village of Tinley Park and Robinson Engineering was approved by the Illinois Department of Transportation in the amount of $200,000 for the total estimated project of $3,498,364.11. Since we are successful in getting the state participation in the cost of the improvements occurring on Harlem Avenue, the village actual share will be reduced from 20% to approximately 17%, or $579,364. The proposed resolution will obligate the village share of the construction and construction engineering for the project. The village will also be entering into a separate construction engineering agreement with Robinson Engineering for the project. These items were discussed May 9, 2017 at the Committee of the Whole meeting. Because of the delay in finalizing these agreements, it is requested that the first reading be waived and this resolution be approved and the various agreements be executed by the mayor and clerk. This will allow the documents to be forwarded to the Illinois Department of Transportation for their approval, and the project can be awarded to the apparent low bidder.
Thank you, Brian. So we're waiving first reading this evening. This will be up for adoption. Any comments from the board at all? Any comments from the public?
Just a quick one. What is the reason for this road going through to be straightened? What's the plans on?
Sure. Any from the
The
staff
properties
would
out there.
care to comment on that? Otherwise, we could get back to you with a more thorough analysis, whatever you're comfortable with.
We're just wondering, why even straighten out that road? What's going on?
It's been on the books, Jennifer, for a long time, right? Do you want to
Yeah.
comment on it?
Yeah, for 10 years, it's been on the books, and the original idea was to extend this road all the way to Ridgeland, so to have a major east-west thoroughfare through the village. This will also not only improve the intersection, but will also alleviate some of the traffic delays that occur during concert seasons. So we have a signalized intersection at Oak Park and 191st, so you'll have another means for people to access the private road that enters the music center.
So you're just straightening out the road?
We're just extending it, it's not
Okay.
straightening it up.
Just, we're wondering, that's all. Okay.
Thank you.
And you got a grant.
Any other comments? Seeing how there's none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glotz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 12, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like the board to consider waiving first reading and adopt resolution number 2017-R-023 approving a construction engineering services agreement with Robinson Engineering for the federal participation with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the 191st Street extension from Harlem Avenue to Oak Park Avenue.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved
This
by
agree-
Ms. Bird.
This agreement relates to the 191st Street extension from Harlem and Oak Park Avenue as discussed under item 11. This agreement covers the construction engineering service. This item was discussed May 9, 2017, Committee of Whole, and recommended for approval.
Okay, again, this is eligible for adoption after first reading. Waiving first reading, pardon me. Any comments from the board at all? This is a companion ordinance, basically, with the last one, correct?
Yes.
No comments? Any comments from the public at all? Seeing how there is none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 13, Mr. Yonkers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like the board to consider awarding a contract to MYS Incorporated for replacement of the Bannis Elementary School Bridge.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by Mr. Brady. Go ahead, Brad.
The village has been successful in getting 100% funding through the Illinois Department of Transportation for replacement of the pedestrian bridge serving Bannis Elementary School. In conjunction with the project, a pathway is being extended from the bridge to 170th Street. Bids were opened on April 6th, and MYS Incorporated out of Palos Heights was the low bidder. Under the terms of the proposed contract, the contractor will be responsible to provide all labor, tools, material, and equipment necessary to complete the project. As the village is receiving funds from IDOT for the project, all contractors prior to bidding were pre-qualified to perform work for IDOT. This item was discussed at the committee whole meeting May 9, 2017, and recommended for approval.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you can make sure you add all the bids into the record, please. Again, this is for awarding a contract this evening and expenditure of funds. So roll call. Have you had any comments from the board? No? Any comments from the public at all? Seeing how there is none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item 14, Mr. Panito.
I'd make a motion to amend Section 96.14 of the Tinley Park Village Code regarding refuse disposal contractor responsibility.
Are you asking to waive first reading?
I'm just asking to make the motion at this point.
Do we have a motion to waive first reading?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Yonker and seconded by Mr. Mangan. Go ahead, Mr. Panito.
The Village of Tinley Park established a recycling program via ordinance in the 1990s. Part of the recycling program called for the village refuse carrier to remit proceeds from the sale of all recyclable materials of the village on a monthly basis. However, at the same time, or also in 1990, the village approved a refuse contract that allowed the contractor to submit an annual payment of $10,000 to the village in lieu of the requirement to remit the proceeds for the sale of recyclable materials. This created a conflict between the recycling program adopted and the approved contract. In every subsequent refuse contract, there has either been a direct payment to the village for the value of recycling material or an alternative service, delivery and maintenance of recycling containers, requirement for the contractor, which has in essence waived the remittance requirement of the 1990 ordinance/recycling program. The proposed ordinance would amend the village code to remove the remittance requirements of the refuse contractor. Adoption of this ordinance would not preclude the village board for any future refuse contract to include remittance requirement should they deem it to be in the best interest of the village. This item was discussed at the May 9th, 2017 Committee of the Whole and recommended for approval. And at that time, I'd asked the staff to check with the Environmental Commission to see if they had any objection, as well as speak to the lawyer who kind of brought this matter to our attention due to a suit regarding payment for recyclables. And I've been informed that that has been done.
Thank you. So this was properly moved and seconded for waiver of first reading, so this will be eligible for adoption this evening. Are there any comments from the board at all? Any comments from the public? Mr. Pauls, Mr. Holly, please step up.
Mayor Vandenberg. So I'm just asking just to clarify what this does. I know there was previous issues and inquiries as to what whether the proper, as far as proper dues owed by the recycling company to the village. Does this essentially just clarify the contract?
I can answer that.
I'm just curious. Yeah, thank you.
What this does is, not physically, but it amends the code. So in the village code book, there's a section in there, something along the lines of the refuse hauler should remit the recycling fees to the village. This takes that out. It doesn't touch the contract. This takes it out of the village code. We don't want a discrepancy between what's said in the contract and our code. It's not good practice. It does not preclude the village from anything about the contract. I guess is the best way I can say it. This is about the code only. Does not touch the contract.
So essentially, it just clarifies what was said in the contract versus what's in the code, so that way there's no contradiction.
I think that's fair.
Okay, no, just cool, just making sure that I was fully understanding what's going on here. Thank you.
Basically, Lucas,
Thank you.
what's happening is there's a conflict between what the code says and what the contract says. So they're removing that portion of the code at this point in time. And this way the conflict will stop existing. And apparently they've checked with whoever might be interested in parties, and, it's okay at this point.
Okay, cool. I guess conflict of interest is something that we definitely don't want. Thank you.
Thanks, Lucas.
welcome.
Any other further comments?
Conflict of interest.
Seeing how there is none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. At this time, item 15, Mr. Panito.
Consider waiving first reading and adopting ordinance number 2017-0-035, adopting the prevailing wage rates for laborers, workers, and mechanics contractually employed by the Village of Tinley Park.
We have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Yonker. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Glatz. Go ahead, Mike.
This is basically an annual ordinance required by the state, acknowledging and requiring that prevailing wage rates be paid for all applicable work contracted by the village. This requirement creates a level playing field for the labor costs of such contracted work. A copy of this ordinance is required to be filed with the Illinois Department of Labor and the Secretary of State. If first reading is waived, this ordinance is eligible for adoption.
Thanks, Mike. First reading was waived, so again, this ordinance is up for adoption this evening. Any comments from the board at all? Any comments from the public? Seeing how there is none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item 16, Mr. Panito.
Consider waiving first reading and adopt ordinance number 2017-0-040, amending certain sections of Title III, Chapter 30 of the Tinley Park Municipal Code entitled Board of Trustees, pertaining to standing committees and consent agenda items.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Yonker. And a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Mangan. Go ahead, Mike.
This ordinance amends the standing committee structure. In addition to the committee changes, this ordinance also does the following. Add items approved unanimously by standing committee to the list of items that can be placed on the consent agenda. 2, sets forth the regular meeting date and time for new committees. A, Public Works, Public Safety, and Community Development on the second Tuesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. B, Economic Development and Marketing, Finance and Administrative, and Legal on the fourth Tuesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. If first reading is waived, this ordinance is eligible for adoption.
Thank you. First reading was waived. This ordinance is eligible for adoption. Any comments from the board? Mr. Foss?
I certainly have a comment on this one. While I have no problem with changing the structure of the standing committees, and I highly encourage that they are actually on opposite nights than the board meeting, which I think is a good thing, because I know before, you guys had your meetings right before the board meeting, and you put something there at the standing committee meeting, and then 15 minutes later, it'd come up at the board meeting. So at least now there's a gestation period between the committee meeting and the board meeting. My problem is the item that was added in regards to this whole thing where you're going to go start adding consent agenda items to everything that unanimously passes. And let me tell you why. Because if you look at the history of everything, standing committees pass stuff all the time unanimously. So are we going to have 30 items of consent agenda? Counselor Connolly, a question for you.
Yes.
Are the roll call items, I apologize, which are typically, if memory serves, going back to Pat Ray times here when he explained it to us on February 2nd, expenditure of funds and ordinances, would those be consent agenda items if they passed through a standing committee unanimously?
In the past, are you asking me?
If an ordinance came before a standing committee and it passed unanimously before the standing committee, would it be eligible as a consent agenda item?
In the past, you're asking me?
I'm asking you now if this passes.
Oh, if this passes now?
Yes.
Unanimous items that were previously previously unanimously approved by the standing committees would go to the consent agenda. That's correct.
Including ordinances and expenditures of funds.
Including those, correct.
So, knowing that, with your answer just now, I highly oppose this because of the fact that everything getting lumped in, including ordinances, that changes the law of Tinley Park will now potentially be consent agenda items with 3 votes.
I would add, let me qualify that. I would add that the consent agenda section still talks about routine, they still should be routine,
You say routine, and then it's like, what's routine?
I agree with you there. It's not defined, but that is in the code. It says of a routine nature for consent agenda items. I would agree with you there. But again, it's...
Let me give you a hypothetical.
Okay.
You'll recall a text amendment that came through this committee.
I had a feeling that was a hypothetical.
And it passed a planning and zoning committee unanimously on August, if memory serves, 1st-ish, 2015. Are you telling me that that would be potentially a consent agenda item?
No, that would not be. I think the plan is to have everything that comes out of that plan commission still on here as it was tonight for 2 reasons.
I don't think this is very well defined the way that you, and I'm assuming you wrote this ordinance.
I wrote it, yes.
And it's very vague. I would prefer if this wrote exactly what and what is not able to be added as a consent agenda item of going through on a unanimous vote, which you all know, all of you know, will go through unanimously because I've been to those committee meetings, and I highly encourage people to go to the committee meetings, and if this goes through, you darn well better go to these committee meetings. This is going to be the only chance that you're going to say anything about any item that goes through. Because let me tell you something, if this goes through, you're going to have 30 items on your consent agenda item, your consent agenda every single meeting, because everything's going to go through the committee, and, look, I know how this place rolls. Y'all are going to be on autopilot, and it's like, yep, and it's going to go through, and, oh, you know what? It went through unanimously. It's not controversial. We're not going to talk about it. Consent agenda item. You're already up to L. Kristen, when you read them this today, you're up to L. That's 12 items. This goes through, you're going to have so many freaking items on the consent agenda item, there's going to be no time for anything else. So we got to catch everything in the committee meeting. Now, don't get me wrong. Maybe, in the grand scheme of things, this encourages people to go to the committee meetings. Now, here's what I would say. If this goes through, which I'm opposed, by the way, especially since of how vague it, and look, I love you, Pat. You know that. You're a great counselor, but that was really vague. It wasn't very well defined, and that's why I'm up here. But here's my thing. I would ask all of the chairmen and chairwomen that, God forbid this goes through, which probably will, let's be honest here. I would ask every single one of you, because every single one of you is chairing a committee, that if this does go through, the only time that we're going to talk about it is at a committee meeting, that every single time one of these things come before your committees, that we get a say before you vote through it unanimously, which will probably be on not even a roll call vote. It'll just be like, oh, I know. You know what I'm saying? That's what I would ask. Going back to you and I writing the public comment rules back in the day, I would say we should expand that to make sure that that happens. Because if this goes through, I am telling you, it is vital that we go to those committee meetings and have our say right then and there. Because everything else is going to be a consent agenda item. There won't be any more first reading, second reading, anything like that. Does everybody up here understand what I'm saying? I hope so. I hope I have made the case clear. And I can tell you this, I am not pleased that this did not go through a committee first, okay? Because you guys haven't even made your committees yet. And I understand that's part of this. This should have been left out and added on later after it went through a committee, and you're just ramrodding this stuff through, okay? So that's why I'm here to say stop and consider this for a second, okay? Do what you're going to do, but just know that if this goes through, that's what will start to happen. All these things are going to start ramming through, and you're going to have consent agenda items 30 long. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Claus.
Thank you. I'm sorry, can you tell me what does that mean? if it gets on a consent agenda, then you don't vote on it here?
Basically, the consent agenda should be, and I thought this was the purpose of it, for routine, non-controversial matters, like do
But
we
that's
pay
not
the
been-
monthly expense? And any item that's on any agenda, consent agenda or otherwise, any matter, any member of the board can ask to remove from the consent agenda. Therefore, arguably, it shouldn't be an issue, but I get what Mike is saying. He's worried that we're going to do things too quickly and we're not going to examine the things that are going on. And arguably, he's right based on some of the things that's happened in the past. However, you know, if the people leading are perfect, everything will run the way it should, no matter how your system is. And you just, I don't know that you're ever going to have that. You know, I would hope that any things that are problematic, we would have the courage to say, remove that from the consent agenda. I don't feel comfortable with that item. It would be removed and then discussed before a vote. But the future is uncertain. So
I'm sorry, I'm just still confused. So would it still go, if it's on a consent agenda, does it still come up here?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, everyone votes on it.
It's the same as tonight. There's a roll call following the end of it.
What is the difference then?
I mean, at the end of the consent agenda, anybody from the board can remove a consent agenda and place it on as agenda item, and then you could have a full motion and a second, and then you could do a roll call that way. You could open for public comment. This is a way to believe it or not, add levels of transparency in my mind. First off, we're posting committee meetings to be held on particular nights, as Mike pointed out. They're not going to be held before a meeting. They're going to be, televised live, recorded right here in this room. The purpose of having the standing committee make the recommendation to place things on a consent agenda actually engages the member of the board to really dive down into their committee and understand everything about it. And then if they are recommending it to this board, I approve of that. I think that they're doing their job. Once it's placed on this agenda, just like this evening, as Mike pointed out, there's how many items? All the way through L. Anybody before we pass the consent could have removed any one of those items. So you have that option. If there's something that's brought to their attention before we move the consent, that's not a problem. This is a way to kind of condense the agenda and make it more open and transparent, better discussion, and expedite a formal meeting, so to speak. I mean, this is not an uncommon practice. I mean,
And like all the waiving of first readings, do we do that all the time, or is that new?
it has been done in the past. Waiver of first reading has been done in the past.
Okay. It just seems like, I get concerned too,
What-
just because everything's so fast, and sometimes if we can't make it to a meeting, we watch them, and then we have questions, and it's over, it's too late.
one other change, I've been talking to Clerk Theron about it.
Oh, no,
We're-
just I keep seeing every one of these seems to have consider waiving first reading.
No, but we're looking at other things to try to increase transparency. This is to try to streamline the process. When there's a block party, you don't need to
Right,
go
right,
through each one,
exactly.
and you could do 5 at the same time
So
and say,
everybody's
okay. That's what this is supposed to be, but obviously, any system could be manipulated. But we're looking at doing some other things to increase transparency, like not have things that are on the committee up, for the first time on the same day as you're supposed to be voting for it. And that's
Yeah.
kind of going
Yeah,
through the
I agree.
process, and hopefully it'll be on an agenda like this is. And,
Okay.
we're,
But you would all still vote on all of this, every one of you has.
Correct.
We have to
that
vote on the
chance.
consent agenda. It's a roll call, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Diane, example was the first meeting we had. The lobbyist was in the consent agenda, and one of us contacted the clerk's office and asked for it to be moved to a separate agenda, to its own item. So, like Trustee Panetta was saying, when we see something on there that we think should be separate, we can do that, and that was done with the lobbyist. So, the mayor's process is, like you said, to streamline it, put the stuff in there that we've already discussed. But, if there's something that's bothering one of us, we could always put it separate.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. Mr. Holland?
Mr. Mayor, just got a few questions. Well, first off, I'd like to reiterate Mr. Paul's comment. I was unaware until he brought it up, and also Mr. Conley also brought it up, that if there's a 3-0 vote, that it's brought up to a consent agenda, and I really would hope that if there's one person who would previously voice concern to you about a certain item within the consent agenda, not that necessarily it has to come up to it being brought up as a separate item, but at least the possibility of someone to voice their concern publicly, if it's brought up to you, for just level of transparency and I guess to make it on a public level. But looking at this first, I was a little bit confused about it. The more I thought about it, just got a few questions then. In my opinion, when I look at this agenda, it seems to take away the whole executive power of the mayor, as it would in the committee of the whole meeting. Kind of disperses the power to the individual trustees and the chairmen of their committees. Is that correct? So, for example, versus bringing something up directly in a committee of the whole and putting it in certain commissions, it kind of gives more focus, more powers to individual trustees and groups of people, and lets them become more involved versus just having the mayor direct a meeting versus a committee of the whole.
I could.
Yeah, Mike,
it's my own personal observation. Just me asking questions there.
I went through it, and what I've seen is we have a lot of committees, and we have a lot of meetings, and the same amount of business could get done with 6 committees as with 10 committees, if you know what I mean. So you don't have to have 10 meetings. You could have 6 meetings if you merge some committees and change some around. And this, I think, was a process. I know the mayor came up with the idea. I had a suggestion or two, and now I think it's kind of all the business that you need to do could get done with these 6 as opposed to 10. So it's, in my opinion, a streamlining. I don't know that we need to have a meeting where there's one item on the agenda, which is what we've done in the past for some of our commissions. And I try to be at every meeting for every committee. That way I know what's going on.
I know.
Can act intelligently. And I assume that'll happen. But now I won't have to go to 10 meetings to know what's going on. I could go to 6. So that's how I see it. I don't know if anybody else has a.
And also, I think it's important to note, just because there's only 3 committees meeting on one night doesn't mean that the other members of the board can't show. It's an open meeting. We can conduct village business, so it's nothing's holding them back from attending those meetings if they wanted to address, some concerns on other items. But also to the committee of the whole point, part of this would be to kind of establish a quarterly committee of the whole, as opposed to doing it on a monthly routine. In the past, I think a lot of our committee of the whole meetings have really gotten bloated and not really conducted a lot of business, specifically with direction. So the quarterlies would allow for us to do larger conversations, more specific to mid-year budget conversations, or Mr. Niemeyer had a couple of suggestions of things that we could focus down on as a whole board. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does. It definitely does.
There's nothing that, specifically for me, I won't speak for the board, but everything that we're doing here is to try to keep as much open and transparent policy as possible, and in an expedited fashion. One thing that really hasn't been touched on that has been a focal point of criticism in the past, more specifically for me because I had to read each one of them, would have been fence variations. We get into these, when Mr. Glass in the community development area gets down with Paula and figures out the fence variation process and zoning board of appeals and all that stuff. We're really putting a resident in a long schedule to wait on that. So this would be a way to have it before a committee, be able to suggest that to the board and allow for us to vote at once as opposed to dragging it out.
I definitely agree with that one.
I think that really boils down to the routine aspect of what we're discussing.
And my last comment, something that a positive I see out of this is that you're setting set schedules and set dates for all these certain committees being held, and I believe if I'm reading correctly, it's all starting at 7:30.
That is correct. That's
okay, because I know previous meetings in which there's been a board meeting and you've had a public safety commission, and I myself have wanted to speak to them about a particular issue, but unfortunately, because of tax season, I wasn't getting home on exactly too close up before the board meeting to make it. So that's one thing I appreciate. At least you guys are setting a specific time that these commissions are starting up, and it's allowing more, wiggle room for people to make it to it. So thank you,
Mr. Holly.
Thank you.
Any further comments from the public?
Mr. Mayor, if I could add one thing.
Counselor.
Just that I can tell you the intent from the the committee of the whole meeting that we had last week and talks with, staff on how to put this together. This is not about ramming items through. And Ms. Paws, I hope you've worked with me enough to know that that's not what I stand for, and I don't think this board stands anywhere near that. So there is a routine nature. I would hope there's some common sense on what you see on there, and I just want to remind the board, look, these are your committees, they're your meetings, it's your agenda. If we get to a point and there's too many things on there, let's slow it down and change it. They're your boards, you can change it, your meetings at any time. As the mayor said, I'll echo what the mayor said. The idea here was it's the fence variations, the easements, things like that where folks would be held up for months and might miss construction and things like that. That's the idea. Is it as clear cut as that in the ordinance? No, it's not. I think the option wanted to be there to put things on. And again, I want to reiterate for the board, the process, if you see something on the consent agenda you want to talk about, you don't need to motion it off, you don't need a second. You simply say, Mayor, I want that item off. So you can take anything off at any time. I think it's something we need to look at, handle it with common sense. I don't think it's not meant to put your huge, big development items on there. It's for, as the mayor said, to get people through on routine items that have been vetted at a prior level. So that's the idea. If it's not working out that way, I'm sure we'll hear from Mr. Paws, and then I think, or if it's not working to your satisfaction, let us know and we'll change it immediately. So, but that was the intent, and that's kind of where we're at.
I had a quick question for the counselor. Would it be possible to come up with a definition of what is routine or some clarification in that regard?
It's possible.
Would that be too lengthy?
Sure. It's possible. Routine is hard to define, but yeah, we can come up with something. I think to me, the way I'm thinking about it now, it's almost, you wouldn't want to define what is routine, and you almost want to define what is not routine, right? I think that'd be easier, expenditures above a certain amount, development projects above so many square feet. I think that's probably the way you want to go, and yeah, we can certainly look at that. I don't think it's a bad idea.
Maybe to have some kind of justification for waiving the first reading too as part of the agenda item. Just so people know why we're doing it, if you gotta go fast or whatever.
Typically, I think that's already written in.
It was in there, in the ones we did waive the first reading tonight because of IDOT and
right.
Time constraints of getting it to them.
And it's always right under the record, the reason why. Any other comments from the public? Seeing how there is none, Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll, please.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries. Item number 17, at this time I'd ask for a motion to consider the following board committee assignments. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Yonker. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Brady. As you can see in your board packets, I am recommending the following for the board committee assignments. Finance Committee, I'm asking Trustee Mike Mangan to chair it. In Administration and Legal Committee, I'm asking Trustee Mike Panito to chair. For Public Safety Committee, I'm asking Mr. Bill Brady to chair. Public Works, Mr. Brian Yonker to chair. Economic Development and Marketing Committee, I'm asking Trustee Cindy Berg to chair. And then last but not least, Mr. Glatz, I'm asking you to chair the Community Development Committee. And as was noted in the previous agenda item, we are going to host the second Tuesday of the month, Public Works, Public Safety, and Community Development. So those committee members will engage to be the quorum for those committees. And then on the fourth Tuesday of the month, as was noted, Economic Development, Marketing, and Finance, Economic Development and Marketing, Finance, and Administration and Legal. I got to get used to that. We kind of recrafted our committee structure. So that is the discussion. Are there any comments from the board on this at all? This is for a roll. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Very good. Madam Clerk, if you could call the roll on this, please.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 18, Mr. Mangan.
Mayor, consider waiving first reading and adopt resolution number 2017 R026, authorizing a parking lot lease agreement between the Village of Tinley Park and Primal Cut Steakhouse.
We have a motion?
Second.
I think that was, we needed a motion and a second. I don't believe you moved it, did you?
Did
Did he move it?
When he
Okay,
reads it, yeah.
pardon me, I'm sorry. Properly moved and seconded.
Primal Cut is requesting an agreement with the village to lease 6 parking spaces along the east side of the Public Safety Building located at 17355 68th Court for a lease period of 7 days a week from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a 1-year term. The lease rate is $150 per month and $1,800 annually.
Thank you. This is, we're asking for first, we did waive first reading, pardon me. This resolution will be eligible for adoption. Any comments from the board at all? No? Any comments from the public? Seeing all there is none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Before I vote, I just wanted to say something real quick. There was a video of Primal Cut parking lot posted by Mike Paws this past weekend. It appears that Primal Cut mistakenly put signs up for 11 parking spaces, not the 6 that were discussed in the COW meeting last week, and that will be voted on right now. I just wanted to thank Pat Carr for getting this resolved in a timely manner. I spoke with Pat Monday morning, and he said he would look into it, and he took care of it, which he did. I don't know if, Pat, if you want to give a brief explanation of what transpired for everybody, or...
Hold on. We're up for vote here. The procedure would have been to properly have done this during the board comment section. I would ask that you wrap up your comments, please.
All right. Yes.
Thank you.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 19, Trustee Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like the board to consider waiving the first reading and adopt the resolution number 2017 R024, supporting the Class 8 real estate tax assessment application by I-80 Commerce Center Number 2 Limited Liability Corporation for an industrial facility located at 18604 Ridgeland Avenue, Tinley Park, Cook County, Illinois. This resolution provides for the motion. I think you were supposed to read that, Jay. Sorry.
Hold on one second. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Go ahead, Cindy.
The resolution provides for the Cook County Class 8 incentive, which reduces the tax assessment ratio for the property at 18604 Ridgeland Avenue from 25% to 10% for a 10-year period. The property was originally approved by the village for a Class 8 incentive in 2006 under Resolution 2006 R042. However, because that property had remained vacant, it has been assessed at the 10% rate applicable to vacant land for property tax purposes, and no additional property tax benefits resulted from the previously approved Class 8 incentive. The owners are proposing to construct a warehouse logistics building of approximately 300,000 square feet on the site. Because of the passage of time since the original Class 8 approval, the county is requiring that the pending development be covered by a new separate application. The property is located in Rich Township, which has been pre-certified as a Class 8 incentive pursuant to the Cook County Real Property Classification Ordinance. In such pre-certified areas of the county, the approval of the application by the Cook County Board is automatic once the local approval has been granted. This project meets the goals and objectives established in the Economic Incentive Policy as set forth by the Economic and Commercial Commission and the Village Board of Trustees. The property owner is requesting a waiver of the first reading as the Class 8 is critical to development of the property and related tenant negotiations.
Thank you, Cindy. This item was waived for first reading. This resolution is up for adoption this evening. Are there any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Seeing how there is none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 20, Trustee Berg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to motion, consider waiving the first reading. Did I read this part? I forget. Adopt resolution number 2017 R25, supporting the renewal of a Class 8 real estate tax assessment application by I-80 Commerce Center LLC for an industrial facility located at 18801 Oak Park Avenue, Tinley Park, Cook County, Illinois.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved by Berg and seconded by Yonker. Go ahead, Cindy.
This resolution provides support for the Cook County Class 8 incentive, which reduces the tax assessment ratio for the property, 18801 Oak Park Avenue, from 25 to 10% for a 10-year period. This property currently is home to one of Tinley Park's largest employers. The property is located in Ridge Township, which has been pre-certified for the same incentive, Class 8, pursuant to the Cook County Real Property Classification Ordinance. In such pre-certified areas of the county, the approval of the application by the Cook County Board is automatic once local approval has been granted. This project meets the goals and objectives for encouraging redevelopment and business retention in Tinley Park as set forth by the Economic and Commercial Commission. The property owner is requesting a waiver of the first reading of the Class 8 is critical to renewal of the lease with the building tenant currently in negotiation.
Thank you, Cindy. Again, this item was waived at first reading. This resolution is eligible for adoption this evening. Any comments from the board? Any comments from the public? Seeing all there is none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Abstain.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
There was one abstention, Mr. Yonker.
Correct.
That's for the record. Motion carries. Item number 21, at this time I'd ask the board to consider waiving first reading and adopt ordinance number 2017-0-038, amending Title 11, Chapter 112, Section 112.22 of Tinley Park Municipal Code, the addition of one Class O liquor license to Sound Growler Brewing Company. I have a motion. What do you motion? All right. I have a motion. Motion by Mr. Mangan. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Yonker. Our applicants are requesting to add a Class O liquor license to our code for the Sound Growler Brewing Company at 8201 183rd Street, Suite P. I'd like to note that video gambling for this establishment will be prohibited per our new liquor license in this qualification. I believe our petitioners are here. You had presented to us last time. Is there anything that you'd like to add to it at all? No? Pretty good? All right. This is for roll, right? Any comments from the board? Anything from the public? Any comments from the public at all?
On this?
Yes, sir. Item 21. Seeing how there is none, I ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 22, any comments from the board or staff?
Just one quick one, Mayor. I would like to introduce our new building official, Ken Bauer, who's here tonight. You may remember this, Ken was approved the last board meeting, so Ken started with us last week, right? Yes. Yes, yeah.
Really fast.
Yes. Came up from Florida, so just wanted to put a face to a name. So.
Good evening, Mayor Vandenberg and trustees. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate your putting your trust in me to run the building division of the Community Development Department.
Well, welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your employment here. We understand you're still getting acclimated with our weather. I think it's starting to change slowly. Just bear with us at Chicago.
I know.
Welcome aboard. We look forward to working with you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you again.
You're welcome. Any other comments from the staff? I'd just like to point out, in our last meeting, Mr. Niemeyer addressed the board that Mr. Tilton was going to be leaving Tinley Park. We were sad to see him go, but we're extremely thrilled and very excited to get to work with our new assistant village manager, Pat Carr, pardon me. Round of applause. Yeah. This is something that I find extremely valuable to our community, because not only is Pat has a vested interest here in town, but he's been an employee of the village for a number of years, and basically started off in a mid-level position for management and has worked his way up through the ranks, so to speak. He's gone out and gotten the education for it. So this is something, an initiative that I'm looking to do here in our town, to embody and empower all of our employees to strive for better. I think this is a great example of that. And Pat, all the best. We hope that you could fill the Steve Tilton shoes. and we look forward to working with you. So congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments from the board?
Yeah, I did. Pat, could you give a brief description of the parking lot signs?
Sure. Once we looked at the lease agreement, I made contact with the building, or with the business owner, and explained to him how the lease worked. He agreed. He removed the signs, and we took care of the issue there.
Is there going to be a sign below the primal cut for the hours?
Yes, he did say that for the hours, according to the lease, would be between 4 and 9. So those hours will be posted on the sign.
Thanks, Pat.
Any other comments from the board or staff? Seeing others none, comments from the public?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Mayor Vanderberg, Village Clerk Therian, Board, and Village Manager Niemeyer. My name is Panarea, and I have great news for the residents of Tinley Park. I'm representing the Morris Graduate School of Management, which is a division of Robert Morris University, located next door at Orland Park. And I'm here to inform the residents of Tinley Park of the amazing scholarship opportunity that we have. We are offering an MBA at the Orland Park campus at 50% off the entire degree. And that's available to residents of Tinley Park and Orland Park. This is as a thank you to the Village of Tinley Park and the Chamber of Commerce. We just have really good community support from your village. And this is just, I'm really proud that we are able to offer, like I said, an MBA at 50% off the entire degree. The classes are offered in a very flexible schedule. 2 classes per week, that's deemed as full-time. 1 class per week, that's deemed as part-time. And we know in today's economy, an MBA is more vital than ever to go after those more desirable employment opportunities. One thing about our degree, Crane's business periodical every year, they come out with an MBA guide, and they continuously have ranked our MBA from the Morris Graduate School of Management and as one of the top 5 offered in the Chicagoland area and having the most competitive undergrad GPA. Money Magazine recently published a special report reporting on the best college values. If you remember a couple of years ago, the dialogue was, is college worth the financial debt? So what Money Magazine did was they did a study of about 1,500 colleges and universities throughout the United States. We were ranked in the top 50 colleges of the United States, and then they went on to rank us as a #1 value all-star. So this is a very, it's a quality degree, and again, being offered as such an amazing scholarship opportunities. We have class starts coming up July and September of this year, and if anybody's any questions, they can give me a call at the Orland Park campus. There's only one Panarea in the school, 708-226-5353. But I'm also here to help the village, to help me get the word out, perhaps through any communication avenues you use to, for your residents. I know Orland Park, they have like periodic emails that go out to the residents, and that's how they're assisting. But just to help me get the word out to your residents.
Certainly. Well, thank you for being here with us. If you could leave your information with our marketing director, that would be appreciated.
And the marketing.
Donna Franke, right?
Oh.
Thank you. Anyone else care to comment?
Well, as the tradition, I try and start with some thank yous, and I kind of, I got a little out of hand on that agenda item 16, but I hope we're still all friends, but I really wanted to get my point across. Special thank you. First of all, congratulations in order to Mr. Pat Carr over here, and a thank you for promptly responding, both Mr. Niemeyer and Pat Carr, to what to Trustee Glotz was aforementioning with the video that I posted, and actually getting it proper. Now, I want to say for the record, Tinley Park, I love Primal Cut. Lucas and I had a drink there before the meeting, and it's a great place, and I'm not opposed to them having all the spots. I just asked for them to have it all in the ordinance the right way. So Primal Cuts really needs the spots. Hey, they can come before a committee and ask for them, and we can make the agreement and amend it. I just want everyone up here to know that the ordinances are the ordinances, the code is the code, to quote Paula, and let's follow these codes, okay? If I can't kayak on Structure 32, okay, because the Tinley Park Park District thinks it's not cool for me to, hey, let's all follow the rules. All right. the menacing thing is counting down, so let's go on. Thank yous in order. Mayor Jake Vandenberg, thank you for getting the Committee of the Whole not only recorded live broadcast. I really appreciate that. I was actually on the road on business, so I was able to watch. I appreciate that. Live broadcasting the Plan Commission, which is great. I think that's, and I believe you had mentioned that we are in fact going to live broadcast the committee meetings, which after Agenda 16 passing tonight, those committees have become much more important. It's very critical that the citizens of Tinley Park see this, and I encourage you to come because basically that's when you're going to get your say. To clarify what Clerk Therion said to Councilor Connolly, I would say on Agenda 16 where we amended that part of the ordinance, it should be clear that we should still have roll call votes on anything that's an expenditure of a certain amount, or what, you know, but, and certainly any ordinance, anything that changes the law should just not be a consent agenda item, period. And I mean, I'm cool with waiving first readings, and I understand that you're trying to expedite. I think that's a good thing, Mayor Vandenberg, that you're trying to get stuff through. You know, we got 30 years of stuff we have to undo and fix. I get it. I encourage the fact that you're trying to, you know, you've made some great changes. And I know some people have been saying on social media, oh man, you just rushed through this, you rushed through that. And I'm like, you know, here's my thing. Some things, look, you got to fill a trustee spot. I didn't really care about that. Some people made a federal case of it. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to lose sleep about that. But when it comes to something that long-term potentially could make it very easy to put something through, like Agenda Item 16, I'm going to say something. And I'm really going to encourage, again, all of you, you know, you're the chairman and chairwomen of your committees. You know, you run those committees. I would ask that, you know, and again, going back to the public comment rules that we wrote together, that any item that becomes before your committees, you allow people to have their say before you vote on it, because that's basically the only time we're going to get it. And last request to all of you, I know I'm going to probably guess 2 trustees more than any of them would actually exercise those rights to take things off the consent agenda items, and I would really encourage those gentlemen, or maybe a lady, Cynthia Berg, if something really catches your eye, take it off the consent agenda item. Let's talk about it. Thanks.
That was entertaining, right? First off, I want to say congratulations to Mr. Carr on moving on up and being interim village manager. That's really awesome. My good friend Joe Lamargo just got appointed interim village manager for Orland Park to cover Mr. McCarthy, who was the police chief and doing dual village manager stuff. And I love seeing stuff come I love seeing folks come from the village and kind of stepping on up, and that's fantastic. I want to say congrats to Mr. Mangan as far as your first full board meeting as a trustee.
Thank you.
Hopefully you got your first little dose of Mr. Paws. He doesn't get the animate all the time, but that's just how he is. I just want to say, correct me if I'm wrong here, I just kind of noticed this on the first agenda. Is this a brand new thing that we're starting to post the bids, as far as all the bids that are going on onto the actual agenda, or am I just noticing it for the first time?
It's always been there.
Oh,
Yeah.
I guess my first time noticing it. I apologize then, I guess, to that I've done this before, but that's a cool thing that at least I myself am starting to notice. Just have, I guess, 2 quick questions. Do we have any update as far as the, I know previously it was called Coffee with the Mayor on Saturday mornings. I know that you're trying to work up things with your family and your business. I completely understand that. I was just asking if there was any currently any update.
Nothing set in stone, no.
Okay, no, that's fine. Just curious myself. And I just had a few questions for the committees now that it's going to be happening on, I guess, the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month, as far as all the committees. Is there a set time that has to be allocated for each committee, or it's just whatever is on the agenda, whether they get through it within 15 minutes or whether they get through it within like an hour?
Whatever's on the agenda for the committee. No, there's no set time.
Okay, that makes sense. And then is there going to be a public comment on every single committee agenda item that has potential to be a consent agenda item and for a full on board meeting, if that makes sense. Again, just inquiring to myself.
We're not voting, correct? It's a recommendation.
There's a public comment at the end of the committee meeting.
Yeah, there's public,
Okay.
but I think I understand your point. I mean, it's basically the same thing as we're doing here, but correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't, when we're saying that the committees are voting on things, I don't believe that to be completely accurate. I mean, we're recommending that you move it towards the consent agenda so that the entire board has the option to vote on the consent agenda. So typically, I mean, not typically, what I've experienced in committees is that we're not actually voting on the actual item. We're recommending to move it forward.
Okay.
That means that we're vetting, we're getting information from staff, and then we're allowing it to bring it to the formal setting of which this board is. So to classify it as a vote, I would correct that.
Okay, that's understandable.
To understand your question, I think we're going to probably continue to do what we're doing here, as to your comment, your public comment.
Okay, and I guess I have one last question as time's running out here. So is it correct that, at least in my understanding of how now it's going to be set up, where it kind of gives more structure and more, I guess, time setting to which these commission meetings are going to happen, that more individuals' concerns can be brought up publicly to individual committees? So, for example, if someone has a public safety issue, or if someone has an issue with a certain financing or something like that, that they can kind of bring up to committee, and the committee would have more, I guess, more time to discuss it. That makes any sense? I'm not sure. I'm using generalities over here.
I'm not entirely certain I understand.
So I'm saying is like, so for example, if Mr. Paus had a question about a certain, kayaking or whatever, and it was dealt with, a certain safety commissioner or something like that, that then he can bring it up to it, and they can have some kind of dialogue with it. I don't understand. My time's out.
I could talk to you about it after.
No,
I'm still
that's
missing
fine.
the question, Lucas. I mean, you know how to get a hold of me. I'm fairly
That's fine. Don't worry.
I didn't hear the new bell thing go off at the end.
Go
I
off?
was expecting the bell.
Trap door was
We'll talk about that,
That's
Lucas.
fine.
Not a problem.
Just two questions, quick questions. So when you guys vote, like tonight on the bid, the lowest bid for $32,000, and that gets approved, I'm assuming you track the spending on these projects. If it's going to now go over, do you have to bring it back here to you guys to vote on the additional spending?
Correct.
It does. Okay, good. And then the other thing I just want to bring up, when you guys were talking about the extension on the road that we're going to.
91st?
Yes. We've been talking a lot in the branding committees about how we're going to change all, music, getting people from downtown to the music venues, and how to get more people involved in our downtown and to our businesses. And that's come up about, you can't really make it's so restrictive over there. I was saying, well, can't we help the businesses get people in the restaurants, and then they can have a little trolley or something, and there is no way to do that right now. And I just want to say, I hope that's being thought about, like in the big picture, for this branding is going to bring, I'm seeing a lot of changes in our downtown area when this all really starts happening, but we've got to improve that. I worry about the safety of the people walking. After that meeting we had, that the police are praying that people make it home alive after every concert, because people are just walking, I guess, through this. There's no designated walking area. There's no areas for people to walk safely, I guess, to Target, where they got to get their Ubers, or because we don't really have it set up. Uber's not going away. I just hope that wherever committee that falls in, that we're thinking about that how all the changes we're going to make in branding, how we're going to improve all that. Just because we got to be known for something. If it's music, we've got to be the best at it. We don't want to be people complaining that it takes 2 hours to get out of our parking lots, and we can't walk where people are doing all this crazy stuff. It's got to be, top notch.
Understand.
So,
Thank you for your comment.
thank you.
Thanks.
Just a couple questions and some small issues. We had our fountain broken last year. Do we know a date when that's going to be replaced, or if it's going to be replaced, the fountain, Oak Park Avenue?
There hasn't really been any conversation about it, but Mr. Niemeyer could probably elaborate.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about replacing the fountain. With some of the plans for downtown, including the plaza.
Yeah, when are these plans going to happen? How long are we going to be without a fountain? That is part of our identity in Tinley Park. I mean, I know it's costing,
Yeah.
what is it, $16,000, $32,000, $40,000. Is it worth it? I believe it is. It is a big part of our identity. That's main part of Tinley, and you're saying no go with that.
Well, what I'm saying at this time is there's no plans to replace it. There's a lot
How
of...
long is it going to be before we plan to replace it?
May not be replaced, is what I'm
May
saying.
not be
Yeah,
replaced.
we're looking at a
Whose
lot...
decision is it not to replace our fountain?
Well, again, at this point, we're looking at plans for a plaza. We've got some downtown
How long are
development.
the plans going to take?
Mr. Zollner, we could certainly discuss all this in a very detailed setting, if you don't
Well,
mind.
summer's here and we don't have a fountain.
The reason for it is, I mean, over the course of the last several meetings, we've been trying to execute this branding initiative and getting that in place, right? And a part of that is to start to build what we consider to the downtown area in our plaza. A part of that would be to discuss what we're going to plan on doing with the Zabraki Plaza. So
Okay,
to go
great.
ahead and replace the fountain right now, not knowing what the long-term look of that area will look like, I don't have to be very
You know, if
prudent
the mayor
unless-
doesn't think it's worth it, that's fine. We'll move on.
I wouldn't say that, sir.
Okay, that's fine.
It's
Okay, you know, I noticed we had the groundbreaking of the Pandude Pond. And can we expect any development in downtown Tinley now that we have the pond going? As far as, say, like South Street. I know last year we were told South Street's going to be breaking ground in April this year. What's going on with the Hanson project on South Street? Did he ever get the financing, or?
I don't believe that's really something I can answer right now, but, I mean, Mr. Niemeyer, is there anything
Well, I
you'd like
mean,
to
with
add
South
to it?
Street, we did receive plans, about 2 weeks ago, and we're currently reviewing them, right? I mean, it's...
Okay, the financing went through, so it might go through.
They submitted plans
Yeah.
to the village, and the planning department, building
Okay,
department
because
are
what I'm
reviewing
getting
their
at
plans.
is, I believe Hanson owns the parking in there, the old parking lots in there, and it's pretty deteriorated. It looks pretty nasty. I was just hoping possibly you could clean it up for us. See, and this has been going on for 10, 15 years. He's been trying to develop this property.
Something that we certainly have thought about.
Okay.
If the project's going through as it's through Plan Commission currently.
Okay, how about
I
the project on the Central School project with the row houses?
don't believe there's any updates on that as of right now.
And how about North Street? I noticed this morning, I think the village planted some new grass seed and such out there on the property. Now, does T-Hen, that's the old ice house, does T-Hen's own that property?
The village owns it.
Very good, so I got to congratulate that. At least that's starting to look really good. I was hoping to get South Street cleaned up a little bit also. Okay, that should do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zolli. Yes, sir.
Yes, Clerk Therian, I was wondering if we had any figures yet on the voter turnout, how many people voted out of how many possible voters?
I don't have those figures with me at the moment.
Okay, maybe next week perhaps, or?
Sure, I can email them to you, or I can announce them at the next meeting, whichever you prefer.
Thank you, that'd be great.
Yes, sir.
Getting back to the South Street, and the lady was talking about the branding campaign, has anybody contacted you about maybe opening up some custom shops, like a guitar shop or a vinyl record store or anything like that?
I don't think we've had any.
We haven't got
Sure.
down to the type of retail
Mhm.
except for restaurants.
Will there be room for them probably? I mean, since...
Will there be what?
Will there be room for somebody if they in fact wanted
It's
to?
all going to be retail on the first floor.
Okay, great. Since Dean talked about the Hanson development and stuff, would the village, I mean, we don't know how many units it would be, because it's still in the...
I'd prefer not to get into the details of it as of right now. It's still under review. Once the planning department, building department have their chance to thoroughly vet the project and present it to the workshop of the planning commission, I think that'd be the time to discuss the details.
Okay, this will probably be, you're probably going to say the same thing, Mayor, but that's okay. If it's going to be a large scale, would the village consider talking to the developer about creating some affordable units?
I beg your pardon?
Creating some affordable units.
Again, let it go through the planning department and the building department, allow them to vet the project and bring it before the planning commission for the workshop.
Okay, because I know Commissioner Shaw, he had said on one of the websites that he'd like to see some affordable housing. I'm not going to call it affordable housing, but it's, it's similar to, if Tinley could do something to bring in some musicians where they could live here and all that. One more thing, was a rumor that the Beckstein property might be for sale. Is there anything true to that, or?
I can't speak to that.
Okay. One quick thing, I still got 2 minutes. So when we're up here asking questions, you get 4 minutes. So if you're going to answer my question, anybody from the board here, the clock stops, or it's a continually running for 4 minutes? I'm never up here for 4 minutes anyway. So.
Continually runs.
It's a continually running. So if I ask one question, it takes you guys 3.5 minutes to answer, that's it?
I don't believe that anybody
Just
else
to
is going to
clarify.
filibuster it, but it becomes the decision of the chair. So if we notice that the conversation's lasting longer than 4 minutes, and maybe that one of us spoke too long, we'll certainly.
Yeah, I'm never even
Nobody's going to hold
close,
you to it.
so.
Mr.
Okay,
Plunkett.
I just wanted to clarify. Okay,
Not a
thanks.
problem. You're welcome. Thank you. Any other comments?
I only got a question about the 191st Street.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Nick. I don't understand why they're doing it. To begin with, I'll be dead and buried by the time it gets done. But I'm just wondering if they're gonna make a weight zone, a weight limit on Oak Park Avenue. I don't know if it'll affect it at all. But you know, with the concerts, it's bad enough traffic when the concerts are there. Or will the trucks be using Oak Park to get over to 191st Street?
Be probably a question that you might shoot over to Public Works. I don't know if you have specifics to that, but we could probably get back with you if you're okay.
Because traffic is a nightmare when when the concerts are. I'm not complaining about that, there's nothing to do about it, but.
Allow us to gather the proper information and be able to get it to you, and we'll work on that in the next couple
It don't
days.
matter, as long as they look into it.
Certainly, certainly.
That section over there is owned by IDOT.
It's owned by IDOT? Yeah. It's just that I don't think there's, I go by there every day, but I don't think there's a weight limit on there. A sign, I think there used to be one, I don't think it's there anymore.
We'll take a look at it.
But,
Any other comments?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Seeing how there's none. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn into executive session.
Motion.
Moved by Mr. Mangan. This is for litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the bias for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved and seconded by Mr. Yonker and Mr. Mangan. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Yonker.
Yay.
Trustee Panito.
Yes.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mangan.
Yes.
Thank you. We adjourn. There will be nothing to post after the meeting. Thank you very much.
Now,